Online people, is my voice audible? Online students, could you please confirm, is my voice audible? Yes, perfect. All right, guys. So in the last session, we understood what is connection pool and why we need to go for connection pool. So can you tell me what is a connection pool and why we need to go for connection pool? So writing driver manager dot get connection is not recommended, because when you write driver manager dot get connection, it will get a physical connection from the database. What is the problem with the physical connection? Every database will have limited number of connections. Every database will have limited number of connections. If you get the connection and if we don't close that connection, we will lose that we will lose that connections from the database. In future, we cannot communicate with the database. So it is not at all recommended to get the physical connection from the database. Always we need to get logical connection from the database. How can we get a logical connection from the database? By using connection pooling. When our application started, we will get some connections from the database and we will store them into a pool. When our program requires a connection, we will get the connection from the pool instead of getting from the database. So now, if I go for that connection pool, we have two advantages. Can you tell me what are the two advantages we have? Connections reusability is one advantage. Performance improvement. Why performance improvement will be there? If I want to insert a record, first it has to connect with the database, then it has to get the connection. After that, again it has to execute the query. To get the connection, it has to communicate with the database once. To execute the query, again it has to communicate. So 2 times our Java application should communicate with the database. So to avoid that problem, what we are doing now, one time get 10 connections and store the connections in the pool. So whenever we need a connection, take it from the pool only and directly execute the query. If I use connection from the connection pool to insert a query, our program will talk to database only one time. So number of round trips between Java and database will reduce. So if number of round trips are reduced, then automatically performance of the program will be improved. So reusing the connections is one advantage. Performance improvement is the second advantage. How many ways we can set up connection pool in our project? How many ways to set up connection pool? 2 ways we can set up the connection pool. What are the 2 ways? Client-side connection pooling as well as server-managed connection pool. Can you tell me the examples for client-side connection pooling? C3P0 is available, DBCP is available, Hikari is available. So in future, when we talk about advanced Java, we will go for servers. When we are using server to run our application, server will manage the connection pool for us. Tomcat server is available, JBoss available, WebLogic available. Those servers will take care of the connections. Are you clear? Perfect. Now we are able to create the connection pool in our project by using Hikari. So Hikari is from Java, or Hikari is a third-party connection pool? Hikari is a third-party connection pool. How to use third-party connection pools in our project? By using build path. What is the meaning of a build path? What is the meaning of build path? Take the jar files, download the jar files and add the jar files to the build path. So now downloading the jar file, adding the jar file to the build path is a manual process. So are we going to follow this manual process in the real time? No. What are the tools available to automate? Maven, Gradle. Maven is available, Gradle is available. This is Sunday, this is Saturday at 7:30 p.m. we have a Gradle workshop. Got my point? So if you know Gradle, then what is the advantage? If you know Gradle, what is the advantage? We are downloading MySQL jar file. We are downloading Hikari CP jar file. We are downloading SL4J jar file, adding to the build path. That stuff is not required. Tool will do that. Tools are going to do that. So Gradle, that is the first tool that you are going to learn. This Saturday at 7:30, online workshop is there for that. You guys has to attend that workshop. Okay? So I'm going to last Sunday, Shekhar sir conducted workshop on the Maven. How many of you attended? I don't know. So if you have not attended, please go through that video once when you have free time. So this Saturday, I'm going to take the workshop on the Gradle. I want you to attend because in advanced Java, some programs will practice by using Maven and Gradle also, so that it will be easy for you once you come to Spring Boot microservices and all. In the Spring Boot, definitely we have to create our project by using Maven or Gradle. There is no other option. So instead of directly seeing that Maven in the Spring Boot, from now only we'll work on with that so that you will get some hands-on experience on the Maven and Gradle. Okay, fine guys. But as of now, we are doing that build path manually. From next week, do we need to do that manually? No. From next week, we will work with Gradle, right? In the project, either Maven will be available or Gradle will be available. If it is a microservices, both will be available. In my company project, we are using few projects with Maven, few projects with Gradle. I will tell you differences also. That's very important. Every Java developer should know at least one build tool, either Maven or Gradle. If you know both, excellent. What is the difference between Maven and Gradle? You will understand this Saturday. Okay, Saturday or Sunday. I don't know whether we can complete it one day or not. 2 to 2.5 hours will be there. If not completed, Sunday continuation will be there. Okay. Perfect. Fine, guys. Yeah. So we are done with our connection pooling program. It is working. All of you tried that? Yes. Perfect. Let me take it here. Okay. Guys, now I will show you classes which we developed previously. Can you guess, is there any problem in our programs that we developed as of now? Okay, guys. Yeah. So book with address. Observe this class. This class worked as expected or not? This class worked as expected or not? It worked as expected. It is used to retrieve the records from the table. Okay. Select books. This class also worked as expected. We are able to retrieve the records. Can you see any problem? Physical connection. Okay, we know that how to avoid the physical connection. Do you know how to avoid physical connection? How to avoid physical connection? By using connection pooling. You understood that reusability will be available and performance also will be improved. So 2 problems. We are loading the driver. Is it required? Not required. Connection. Earlier we created physical connection. From today, we need to create only logical connection. Hikari CP already we understood. Now search employees. See this program. Yeah, we are reading the data from the keyboard. We are preparing the query and we are getting the connection. We are executing the query. That stuff is done. It is also working as expected. Then next one, select books. This program is also working as expected. All the programs are working as expected. Can you observe any problem in these programs? Huh? Error. Scanner. Okay, that is fine. I will close the scanner. Yes, dot close. That is fine. Yes, dot close. I'm closing the scanner. Before connection, after connection, wherever you want, I can close it. Perfect. That is one good answer. In every class, we are opening a connection. Now that problem we will resolve by using connection pooling. Apart from that, is there any other problem? That is one problem valid. In every program, we are getting the connection. In the project, 1000 programs will be available. Will you write the logic to get the connection in 1000 programs? What will happen if you write the logic to get 1000 connections in 1000 programs? Can I call it as boilerplate code? Yes, it is called as a boilerplate code. That is one problem. What is another problem? I will show you connection pooling program. Okay, connection pooling. Where is that? Delete book. No, this is not connection pooling. Connection pool. Yes, this one. Hikari CP JDBC application. Yes. Connection factory. Yeah. Here, can you see any problem in this program? I'm creating connection pooling. From that, I'm getting the connection. I'm inserting a record. Is there any problem? Can you see? Is there any problem in this program? Come on. Think, observe, and let me know. Is there any problem that you feel in our code? Is there any problem that you feel? Perfect. That is the problem. In the program, we are configuring our database properties like database URL, database username, database password. Tomorrow, like this, assume that we are writing 1000 programs. In 1000 programs, if you configure username of the database, password of the database like this, tomorrow assume that due to security reasons, I have changed my database password. Then what will happen? Our project cannot communicate with the database. So now, whatever the password we have for database today, do you think that same password will be available for next 10 years? No. In the industry, for every 3 months, they will modify the password. The standard is for every 3 months, they will reset the password for the database. When the database password is changed, our program also should be modified. I have like this 20,000 programs in the project. Can you modify 20,000 classes? Can you modify the password in the 20,000 classes? Is it recommended? Is it easy? Writing database credentials in the Java program directly is a bad programming practice. Understand? In the real time, we should not configure our database credentials in the Java program. Always we need to separate configuration properties of our application. Our Java application should connect with a database. Database having a URL, database having some username, database is having some password. If you write the credentials in the Java program, it is like hard coding. It is like a hard coding. We should not hard code database properties in the Java program because database properties may change in the future. And our application may want to connect with the multiple databases for testing purpose. There will be a database called development database. There will be a database called testing database. There will be a database called production database. When we are in the real time, what will happen is when the project development is happening, we should connect to DevDB. That means you can do anything with the Dev database. So there will be a one database server that the developers will use during the development of the project. Okay, you can insert the data, you can update the data, you can delete the data. It is like a playground for us. You can do anything with the development database. Our project development is completed. Once development is completed, our code will be given to testing team to test the functionality. When the testing team is testing our project will connect to a different database called SIT database. SIT stands for System Integration Testing. System Integration Testing. Developers will write the code. At the time of writing the code, we need to connect with the database. We need to check our code is inserting the records correctly or not. Our code is retrieving the records correctly or not. Updating correctly or not. Deleting correctly or not. All that stuff we need to test. For that, our project will use development database that is called DevDB. Once the development is completed, our project should connect with the SIT database. That is a MySQL database only. Credentials will be different. Now I created Adv Java DB. So in the industry, they will create the database. You are creating create database name. They will create a database DevDB, create a database SitDB, create a database ProdDB. Like that, different schemas will be available to test our application. Now, when the project is in the testing phase, when the testers are testing our application, our project should connect with the SIT DB. Once the project testing is completed, project will go to live. Live means public access. People can access our project. When people are accessing our application will use a database called ProdDB. That is called production. Production nothing but live application. Now we are accessing Gmail. Gmail is in the production. Production means end users can access the application. When the same project only. Now this is our application, Java application. My Java application, first 3 months we are in the development mode. When the code is in the development mode, it will talk to DevDB. Okay, my development is completed, everything is working. Now same code we are giving to testing. Same project should connect with the testing database. 2 months testing completed. We are ready to deliver the project. When we are delivering the project to the client, it should connect to the final database, which is called production database. So application is same, but the databases are changing. Okay, like this, if you want to change from one database to another database, are you going to modify these properties every time? Is it recommended? Is it recommended or not recommended? It is not recommended. It is not recommended. So as of now, we are in the learning phase of JDBC. We declared a variables to store our database properties, but that is not good programming practice. What we need to do is, in the real time, our database properties will be configured in a separate file. Database properties will be configured in a separate file. So here we can create a file with a name called db.properties. Okay, I'm going to create a file with a name called db.properties. In this properties file, I will configure my database properties. Whenever my application want to get the database properties, it will load from the file. It is going to load from the file. So tomorrow, when I want to modify database password, should I modify all the classes? I will modify only one file. I will modify only one file. So it is not recommended to configure hard-coded properties. Hard coding nothing but fixing the value to a variable in the program is called hard coding. We should never do that hard coding in the real-time project. Okay, whatever the database properties are there, those database properties we need to read from properties file. What is the advantage if I read from properties file? Only one place we can change. Tomorrow my password is changed. Then I will go and change in the properties file. That's it. Then I will restart my server. When I restart my server, it will take the latest properties from the properties file. For example, I am not using properties file. I am using directly in the Java code. Then there are 2000 Java classes available, modifying 2000 Java classes, compiling 2000 Java classes, packaging as a jar file, deploying to the server, lot of time will be wasted. So in the real time, always database properties we will configure in the separate properties file. Now, when you go for Spring Boot, it is mandatory that you need to configure the properties in the properties file. You cannot hard code in the Java. Let me show you one of my Spring Boot application. Okay. If you go to the Spring Boot application workspace, we developed one mini project. Now, if you go to resources, application.yml file is available. Earlier, we used to work with the properties file, but recently Spring Boot started using YML file. Can you see? Am I configuring my data source properties in the Java program or in the separate file? Separate. If you go for any project, database properties will be available in the separate file. From that file, we need to read the properties and we need to get the connection. Are you able to follow this? Now, can we see how to read the properties from a file? Can we see how to read the properties from a file? Yes. In order to read the properties from a file in the Java util package, there is a class called properties class. Okay. In the util package, there is a class called properties class, which is used to load the data from the properties file. Now, let me create one project, file, new Java project, normal Java project I'm creating, properties file demo. A simple normal Java project I'm creating. That project, inside that project, I will create one file, new file. Extension will be .properties. File name can be anything. Extension will be .properties. So here I'm going to write key value. We are going to store the data in the form of key and value. Key is a string, value is also string only. db.username is equal to some value. Okay. Now db.password is equal to some value. You can give any key. Key name is not need to be same. You can give any key, but key should be unique. Password I am giving as something like this, ashok@123. So this is my properties file. What is the properties file? Which is used to store the data in the form of key and value. Why we need to store the data in the properties file? Why not in the Java? Why not in the Java? Why we need to store in the properties file? Come on, man. If you store the properties in the Java program, it is like a hard coding. What is the problem with the hard coding? In future, if I want to change the property, I need to modify all the Java classes. It is risky. Always, we need to separate our code and properties. Properties we are going to write in the properties file. So file name can be anything. Extension should be .properties. In that file, we are going to store the data in the form of key and value. In that file, we are going to store the data in the form of key and value. Key is the string, value is also string. String can be anything, value can be anything. Whatever you want, you can store it. I have stored that. Once I have stored the data in that file, how to read the data from the file? How to read the data from the file? Create a Java class. Okay, I'm creating one package. Yeah. So here I'm using read properties. Just my class, normal dummy class I'm taking. It is read properties. Main method. Yes. Where is my properties now? Where are my properties? They are available inside a file. What is the name of the file? db.properties. File f is equal to new file name. That is db.properties. Control Shift O, imported a package. Which package? java.io.file. We have given java.io.file class. Once the file class is created, now I'm going to use file input stream. What is that? file input stream FIS is equal to new file input stream file object. In that file, my properties are available. Okay, import the package, throws exception. It is giving some checked exception. We are throwing exception from there. Public static void main throws exception. File object is created. That file object I'm giving as an input for the file input stream. Now there is a class called properties class in the util package. There is a class called properties class in the util package. Properties P is equal to new properties. Properties P is equal to new properties. Then what we need to do? P dot load of file input stream. That's it. You just need to create the object for the properties class, and you need to call a method called load method. What is the purpose of load method? Load method will read the properties file which is available in the form of key value. It will store into properties object. Now system.out.println of P. I am printing properties object. Run as Java application. Am I able to get the data? Yes. Am I able to get the data? Where is the data available? Data available in the db.properties. Am I able to read by using Java program? Yes. How I am reading? First, I am taking file object. That file object I am passing to file input stream. That file input stream I am passing to properties. Which method I am calling? Load method. What is the purpose of load method? Load method is used to load the data into properties object. So if you want to read the data from the properties file to properties object, we are going to call load method. Okay, when I print this properties object, all the properties which are loaded, it is printing. I don't want everything. I want only username. System.out.println P dot get property of key. What is the key we have? db dot username is the key. Based on the key, we can get the value. Okay. What I explained? What I explained? DB property. Yeah. How to read the DB properties? How to read the DB properties? We have DB properties. How to read in the Java? Right. So we have a properties file. That properties file having the data in the form of key value. How to read the data from the properties file into Java? By using properties class. So in which package we have properties class? Util package. Which method is used to load the data from the properties file to properties class? Load method. Once we loaded, can we get the value based on the key? So what is the method to get the value based on the key? What is the method? Get property method is available. See here, P dot get property. So what is the key? db dot username. Okay, that I can store into string username. Similarly, string password is equal to P dot get property of db dot password. Okay, now I can print system.out.println of username, system.out.println of password. So wherever we need database properties, database username and password, instead of writing in the Java, can I read like this from the properties file? Yes. What is the advantage if I read like this? What is the advantage if I read like this? We no need to change in every Java program. When you want to modify the properties, you can modify in the file. Java program will load from the file. Now run this program, run as the Java application. Am I able to get the properties? Yes. Is there anything in the Java? No. If I want to modify the value 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, save that. Okay. Run that program, run as Java application. Am I able to get the value? So if any changes that you want to do in the future, those are changes we need to do in the properties file. Here we are storing the data in the form of key and value. If based on the key name, we can get the value. P dot get property of key, it is going to give the value. Once it is done, you can do P dot clear. If you want to remove the properties from that, you can give P dot clear, and file input stream we open, we can close that file input stream object. Are you clear, guys? Yes. What is properties file in Java? What is properties file in Java? Properties file is used to configure the properties in the form of key and value pair. What is the advantage of the properties file? We can avoid hard coding in our Java classes. Okay, how to read the data from the properties file? By using properties class. So whenever you call the load method, it will load all the key values and will store into properties object. How to get a particular property from the properties object? P dot get property of key. If you give the key, it will give the value. Suppose if I give the wrong key, db dot username, db dot pwd, these keys are available. These keys are not available, not available. When the key is not available, it is throwing exception or it is giving null value. It is giving the null value. Are you clear? Yes, make a note. Working with the properties file. Okay. No, null value. That means it is not able to find the key. Map dot get of key. It's a map. Working with properties files in Java. Working with properties files in Java. As of now, you can write it. As of now, in JDBC programs, we have declared database credentials, database properties, which is not at all recommended. As of now, in JDBC programs, we have declared database properties, which is not at all recommended. As of now, in JDBC programs, we have declared database properties, which is not at all recommended. Which is not at all recommended. Not at all recommended because if database properties are modified, then we need to modify our Java programs also. As of now, in JDBC programs, we have declared database properties, which is not at all recommended because if database properties are modified, then we need to modify our Java programs also. Note, in real time, we will have in real time project, we will have multiple databases like below: dev database, sit database, devdb, sitdb, uatdb, proddb, etc. proddb. Developers will use for testing. Developers will use this DB. Testers will use this DB. Client-side testing will happen. Client-side testing will happen with this DB. Live application will use this DB. DevDB will be used by developers. SIT database will be used by testers. UAT database, that means client-side testing will happen using UAT DB and production DB. Live application will use this DB. Every database will have different credentials. Every database will have different credentials. So when we want to change the database, then we have to change our Java programs, which is not good practice. Yeah, we need to separate our Java program with database properties. We need to separate our Java programs with database properties. We need to separate our Java programs with database properties using properties file. We need to separate our Java program with database properties using properties file. Properties file is used to configure properties file is used to configure properties in the form of key value pair. Properties file is used to configure properties in the form of key value pair. We need to separate our Java programs with database properties using properties file. Properties file is used to configure properties in the form of key value pair. Now take this diagram. Not this one. You can just take like this and write the file name db.properties. 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 Note, file name can be anything. Extension should be dot properties. File name can be anything, but extension should be dot properties only. File name can be anything, but extension should be dot properties only. File name can be anything, but extension should be dot properties only. To work with the properties files, we have java.util.properties class. To work with properties files, we have java.util.properties class. Properties class. Using this class, we can store the data. We can store the data in properties file, and we can get the data from properties file. To work with properties files, we have java.util.properties class. Using this class, we can store the data and we can retrieve the data from the properties file. You can create a new property in the properties file, or you can read the existing properties from the properties file. Yes, we'll discuss that. So which class is available? Java.util.properties class. Using this class, we can store the data in the properties file and we can get the data from the properties file. Okay. Now, if you see the properties class, there are several methods available, guys. There are several methods available. Okay. Contains key, contains value, entry set. There are so many methods available. List method is available. Load from input stream, put to replace, like that. All the methods are available. We can get the data from the file. We can set the data to the file also. If you want to set the data, there is a method called set property. What is the method available? Set property. What is the purpose of set property? To set the value to the properties file. What is the purpose of get property? To get the value from the file based on the key. If the given key is available, it will get the value. If the given key not available, null value. How to load all the properties from the properties file? By using load method. By using load method. Okay. Yes, you can write this. Load method, input stream to load all properties into properties object. Okay. Get property of string key to load the property based on given key. To load property value based on given key. To load property value based on given key. Set property string key comma string value to set the new property with key value pair. To set new property with key value pair. Load method, get property method, and set property method. Load is used to load all the properties into properties object. That means read the data from the file and store into Java object. Set property is used to create a new property in the file. Get property of key, based on the given key, we can load that value. Based on the given key, we can load that value. Completed, guys. Yeah. So similarly, there are several methods available. P dot size. What is the meaning of P dot size? System dot out dot println size. Run as Java application. What is the size method is giving, guys? Size to get count of properties. To get count of properties. To get the count of properties. To get the count on properties, count of properties. Okay. Yeah. Take this program, Java program, to read the data from properties file. Java program to read the data from properties file. Completed. So with this knowledge, now do you understand what is the problem in our code? What is the problem in our code? Yes, we are hard coding our URL, username and password. So what is the problem if I hard code these values like this? In future, the values may change. In the future, if the values are changed, then we need to change our Java program. That is not a good practice. So always we need to separate our Java program from the database properties, because database properties may change in the future. We need to read them from a properties file. So what is a properties file and how to read the data from properties file? Come on. What is a properties file and how to read the data from properties file? I need response. Speak up. Properties file is used to store the data in the form of key value. Key can be anything, value can be anything. So how to read the data from the properties file? By using a properties class. In which package properties class is available? In which package that class is available? Java.util package. So what is the method to load all the properties? Load method. I want to load a particular property. Get property method. I want to know how many properties are available. Size method. I want to create a new property. Set property method is available. Like this, we can deal with the property files in the Java. Database properties will configure in the properties file. So what is the file name I can use for the properties file? File name can be anything. What is the extension? Dot properties is the extension. Earlier in the Spring Boot also we used it to work with the properties files, but now properties files are replaced by YMLs. So YML is a universal. Properties file is specific to only Java. Now YML is universal. In the Spring Boot we will understand what is YML, how to work with the YML. For now we will go with only properties file. Is it clear? Perfect. Now can we change our Java program now? Do I need to hard code the values like this? No. What should we do? We need to load the data from the properties file. Now here, guys, yesterday we created a connection factory. In the connection factory, we have Hikari config. For the Hikari config, we are setting the properties and we are getting a data source from that. From that data source, we are getting the connection. With the connection, I'm inserting the records into the table. Now I will remove all this part. Okay, remove everything from here. These are my database properties. Let me create one Hikari CP DBCP app. Let me create a file, new file. I'm giving db.properties. db.properties, db.url, db.username and db.password. Okay. So this is my URL. I will configure username and password. Perfect. So I created one db.properties file in the project and I configured my data source properties. I mean my database properties in the properties file. Now my connection factory should read the data from the properties file, should create a connection pool. Connection pool, are we going to create for every method? Our connection pool will be created only one time. Connection pool always, if I want to insert a record, am I going to create the connection pool? If I want to delete a record, I will create a connection pool. No. What we need to do? How many times we will create a connection pool? For every DB operation, we'll create a connection pool, or only one time we'll create a connection pool? Only one time we'll create a connection pool. Connection pool, nothing but a data source. Connection pool, nothing but data source. Now, here in the Java, is there any concept available which will execute the code only one time? When my project is started, I want to execute that code one time by default. Perfect. What is that? Static block. Where to use the static block? If you want to execute any code only one time when the class is loaded, then we will go for static block. What is the difference between static block and instance block? Instance block will execute every time when we create the object. Static block will be executed only one time when the class is loaded. Now, connection pool should be created inside a static block or outside the static block. Inside the static block. What is the advantage if I create connection pool inside the static block? That will be executed only one time. Connection pool will be executed only one time from that data source. Every time I will just get the connection. Every time I will not create the connection pool. Okay, guys. Now, let me write a static block in the connection factory. What is the meaning of connection factory? Which will prepare the connections for us. What is the bike factory? Which will prepare the bikes. If you need, you can purchase the bike from the bike factory. So if you want a car, you will go to car factory, you will get the car. If you need a connection, go to connection factory, get the connection. The terminology is important, right? Inside the static block, what should I do? What should I do in the static block now? I need to create the Hikari connection pool. To create the Hikari connection pool, first we need to load the database properties. How to load the database properties? By using properties class. Okay, first I'm going to take file f is equal to, come on, file f is equal to new file. What is the file name? The file name is db.properties. The file name is db.properties. Okay, next one. File input stream. What is that? File input stream FIS is equal to new file input stream of that file. Now FIS. Now I have loaded the file by using file input stream. Okay, next I want to load that file into properties. What I'm going to do? Properties P is equal to new properties. How to load the data to the properties? P dot load of file input stream. With this I got all the properties into my properties object. So with this, can you get the each and every property and can you store into a variable? Yes. How can we do that? P dot get property of the key name db dot URL. It is going to give me URL. Similarly, string username is equal to P dot get property of db dot uname. What is this db dot URL, db dot username? Keys. What are those? Keys. By using key, we are going to get the value. How we will store the data in the properties file? In the form of key and value. If you want to get the value, you need to pass the key. P dot get property of key. It is going to give the value. I got the URL, username. Now I am going to get password. So string password is equal to P dot get property of db dot password. Okay, I got this. Once I got this, next we need to do connection pool creation. How to create the connection pool? Come on, Hikari config. Config is equal to new Hikari config. Hikari config is our class or it is a third party class? Third party class. What is the meaning of third party class? Developed by some other company. How can I use that in our project? By using jar file. So can we use one project class in the another project? Yes. Hikari jar file we are adding to the build path and we are using that class. Okay. Hikari config object is created. What next? Come on. What is the responsibility of Hikari? What is the purpose of Hikari? To create the connection pool. With which database? It doesn't know. So what it is our responsibility to tell our database properties to Hikari. How can we tell that? Config dot set JDBC URL. Already we got the URL from the properties. Config dot set username. We already got the uname variable. Config dot set password. We already got that password. If you want to get the max pool size, can you declare? DB pool size also. DB pool size also can I specify here? I want to get the pool size with 20. How many connections you want to create in the pool? Is it fixed or it may change in the future? May change in the future. So is it recommended to hard code? No. How to avoid hard code in the Java? Properties file. Pool size also I am configuring in the properties file. Do you know how to load that? Do you know how to load that? Password is equal to p dot get property of db dot pool size. What is this pool size? Everything will come in the string format only. Okay, we know that it is a number, but property file will think that string only. So whenever you call get property, what is the return type it is giving? String only. So this is pool size. Now I need to set the pool size. Config dot set max pool size. What it is expecting? Integer. Pool size method is expecting what? Into value. How we got the pool size? String value. Do you know how to convert string to integer? How to convert string to integer? Do you need to butify this? Programming, always you need to think and you need to write it. So in the properties file, everything will be available in the form of key and value. Key is string, value is also string only. When I read the pool size from the properties file, I got the pool size. So now that pool size I am setting to this, but pool size method is expecting int value. But what value I received? String format. Pool size I got in the string format. Do you know how to convert the string to integer? Yes, come on, tell me how to convert string to integer. Fast man, where is that confidence? Integer dot parseInt of pool size. Katham. With this we are able to create it. Okay, now with this we are able to create the Hikari config and we are able to set the database properties. Database properties are hard coded or database properties are coming from the properties file. Coming from the properties file. What is the advantage? What is the advantage? We can modify in future if you want easily. Without touching the Java program, I can modify my database properties. Okay, so Hikari config object is created. What next? We need to create the data source. Data source is nothing but our connection pool. Hikari data source is equal to new Hikari data source of config. I'm going to pass our config object. I'm going to pass our config object. Okay. So why we will get here? It is just factory. When people ask, I will give that. Okay. So I have a car factory. I will manufacture 100 cars. Every day I will use one car. No, what we will do? When customer come, we are going to sell that car. Now with this connection factory, we created the connection pool. So connections will be used by connection factory. Connections will be used by our other Java programs. Other Java program. When other Java program ask for the connection, connection factory should provide the connection. Are you guys getting my point? So can I write one method in this class? So whenever my program want to insert or update or delete, they will get the connection from the connection factory. Are you able to understand my point? Okay, so now here there are some errors available, unhandled exception available. Let's do one thing. Let us write a try catch. Okay, try catch just to come out from. We cannot use the throws keyword because it is not a method. It is a block. Hikari data source. Okay, I kept that in the try block. Okay, guys. Now e.print stack trace. Whenever problem occurs, we are going to get. We have written 40 lines of code. Is there anything which you are not able to understand? Is code? Do we need to butify this code? We just need to understand the logic. There is a properties file. I will configure my properties in the properties file. I want to read the properties from the properties file. With those properties, I need to create the connection pool. So to create the connection pool, we are using Hikari. Hikari conf is equal to new Hikari config. For that Hikari config, I'm setting my database properties. With that properties, I'm able to create the Hikari data source. Who needs this data source? This is a connection pool. Somebody may want the connection. For them, we will create a data source. From the data source, they will get the connection. Are you clear? Any question? No. So now, how many times this logic will execute, guys? How many times this logic will execute? Only one time. Why only one time? Now you understand. When you learn core Java, you know only static block. Now you realize when to use the static block. So when to use the static, that is the power of advanced Java. So in the advanced Java, you will understand real-time scenarios. So when I'm explaining core Java, can I tell you this example? If you want to execute any code only one time, then you need to go for static block. Why we will execute code only one time? You will get that doubt in the core Java class. So in the core Java, you should not bother about the real time. You need to focus on the concept. What is the static block? When it will execute, how to use it, what is the syntax. In the advanced Java, where to use which concept we need to understand. So this is scenario based training. Got my point? So now you will never forget a static block scenario. In the interview, if anybody asks you, what is a static block? So attending interviews and giving answers to the interview is always a trick. Okay. If I go for any interview, within 10 minutes, that person will come into my control. You know how? Suppose if anybody asks you a question, Ashok, what is a static block? I will tell that static block is used to execute the code only one time in the Java program. That static block will be executed when the class is loaded into the JVM. In my project, we are using static block to create the connection pool. I will stop it. Where the next question will come? Connection pool. So I will tell that. So that connection pool, he will ask me what is connection pool. I will tell that. That connection pool we are using to create multiple connections. So there are so many connection pools are available. In my project, we are using Hikari connection pool. What is the next question? He is asking the question, or I am driving the interview. That is a trap. That is a trap. Right? Anybody who will take my interview within 5 minutes, they will come into my trap. Once they will ask a question, I will give the answer. I will stop in the middle. He will ask the next question there only. Again, I will give the answer. I will stop there only. That is the technique that we need to learn when we go for the interview. So if you tell static block is used to execute the code only one time, you will stop it. Then next question he will ask somewhere. Randomly he is going to ask the questions. So always we need to get that person attention. We need to trap that interviewer. We need to bring the ball into our court. What question that he has to ask next, we will decide. So then you will crack that interview. Then you will get selected in that interview. That is a technique we need to follow. So when you will get that technique, if you are strong in the subject, if you know everything, right? If you know how to handle, if you attend this technique, I did not learn day one. I failed in 11 interviews. I got selected in the 12th interview, right? That is a different story. All these skills, these tips and tricks we will get based on the experience. Okay? Right. So if I attend any interview within 35 minutes, battery is completed. Hey, can you call that back? Sai will be there. Ask him to change that battery. You understood how to attend the interviews? अभी कर रहा हूँ वही करता हूँ. हो जाएगा. हाँ. Online people, give me 1 minute. So we understood what is this properties file and what is this static block, when to use a static block in the project. So whenever you are answering a question, always you need to explain that question with a scenario. Then they will get good impression. Just question answer, single word answers we should never give in the interview. If you give single word answer, they will not going to impress. So if you ask what is a static block, static block is used to execute the code only one time. Most of the people will stop there only. We should not stop like that. Static block is used to execute any code only once. Static block will be executed only one time when the class is loaded into JVM. I have used static block to create the connection pool. Connection pool should be created only one time in the project. So that connection pool creation logic I have done by using static block. That is how you need to respond to that. Okay. The next question he will ask from. Why he will ask next question from connection pool? We stopped at the connection pool. He will ask next question at the connection pool. When he asks next question about the connection pool, I will tell. We are using Hikari connection pool to improve performance of our application. So there are two types of connection pools available, client side connection pool and server side connection pool. We are using client side connection pool. Then he will ask how to set up server side connection pool. We'll tell that we are using JBoss server in our project. So we can configure connection pool by using JBoss also. Along with the JBoss, there are other servers also available in the market like WebLogic, Tomcat, Glassfish. And if you go for Spring Boot, server is not required. Stop it. He will come to Spring Boot. Then the interview will happen from Core Java. I dragged him to JDBC, from JDBC to Spring Boot. The next interview will happen on the Spring Boot. The next questions will come from the Spring Boot. After answering 2 to 3 questions on the Spring Boot, I will drag him into microservices. Then Java process completed. Within 25 minutes, we can finish the interview. So that technique we need to learn. Right. Fine. So here I have taken connection factory class. In the connection factory class, I have taken a static block. Inside the static block, I'm loading a file. What is this file? db.properties. In this file, I have configured the properties in the form of username and password. Okay, so these properties we are loading by using properties class, and we are using database properties from the properties file. We are loading them by using get property method. Here we are creating Hikari config class. So using Hikari configuration class, we are setting the properties for that. Then we are creating Hikari data source object. We are passing config object as a parameter for the data source. Okay, data source is available. Now, people will ask data source object or people will ask connection object. People will ask connection object. Now see how I am going to give the connection. I will write one static method, public static connection. I need to return the connection, right? Public static connection, get connection, get db connection. I'm writing a method. Public static connection, get db connection. Connection is an interface, java.sql. Okay, now what I will do here, I need to return connection object from this method. So this method is a static method. What is the meaning of static method? By using class name, anybody can access my method. So what is the responsibility of this method? Get the connection. That means this method has to return some connection. This method has to return some connection. So where the connections will be available now? Do I need to write driver manager.get connection, or I need to get the connection from the connection pool? Get the connections from the connection pool. So where is that connection pool? Data source. Data source object is a local variable or it is a global variable now? Data source object, where it is created? Inside the static block. Inside the static block. Can I access that variable directly in my method? You know, local variables, global variables, static variables. So what is a local variable? The variable which is declared inside the method or inside the constructor or inside the block. That variable we can access only in that area. But I want to access that variable outside of the block. So I want to access that in my method. How can I access that in my method? Where is this data source object is created? Inside the try block that is available inside the static block. Where I want to access that? inside the method. Can I access local variable of the block into a method? Not possible. How can we do that now? Simple. Let me declare that as a global variable. Private static data source. Sorry, not this data source. Private static Java x.sql data source. Data source is equal to null value. Initially, what is there in the data source variable? What is there in the data source variable? Data source variable is available in having a null value. Now, can I reinitialize that variable with the actual data source now? Yes or no? I created this variable and I have initialized that variable with the reinitialized that variable with this value. So whenever somebody asks for a connection, now data source variable is available inside the block or outside the block. Observe guys, data source variable is available inside the block or it is available in outside of the block. It is available outside of the block. So it is available inside the class, outside the method. Can I call it as a global static variable? It is a static variable which is global. So what is the advantage if I declare like this? Any method can access. Now, initially I declared this variable with a null value. When the class is loaded, static block will be executed. When the static block is executed, what will happen? Variable will be reinitialized. Now, whenever somebody call get connection, can I do like this? Data source dot get connection. Yes or no? Can I return that connection now? Data source dot get connection. Can I return that connection now? Yes. Now in your program, when you want to insert a record, do you need to write the logic to get the connection, or you just need to call this method? We just need to call this method. What this method will do? What this method will do? This method will give the connection from the connection pool. Are you guys clear with my point? Yes. Now, if you go to our previous, here there is an exception, guys. Let me do throws exception. Data public static connection, get DB connection. What is the meaning of get DB connection? It is responsible to get the connection from the database. Is it getting the connection from the database? It is getting the connection from the data source. It is getting the connection from the data source. What is the data source? Connection pool. Now, if you go to our project, now I want to insert one record. New class bookstore. I have created a class with a name called bookstore. Inside the bookstore method, I want to insert a record. Okay. So should I write class dot for name driver manager dot get connection? No. What I need to do now? I need to get the connection. Physical connection or logical connection? Logical connection. So how to get the physical connection? Driver manager dot get connection. How to get the logical connection? Connection factory. We have a connection factory. So in the connection factory, there is a static method connection factory dot get DB connection. Connection factory dot get DB connection. It has given me connection object. It has given me connection object. So once I get the connection object, what is the next step? What is the next step? Con dot create statement. Con dot create statement. I created statement object. Statement dot execute query. Statement dot execute query. Select star from books. Select star from books. What it is giving me? It is giving me result set object. So whenever we execute the select query, it is going to give us the result set object. So once we get the result set object, what is the next step? While rs dot next. We are going to do while rs dot next. System dot out dot println rs dot get int of 1. System dot out dot println of get 1 plus get 2. rs dot get string of 2 plus double. rs dot get double of 3. It is going to get all the data. Okay. Next one, as a best practice, guys, once after processing the data, it is better to close rs dot close and statement dot close than connection dot close. This is the question which we asked today. In which order we need to close it. Okay. So now I created a connection. From the connection, I created a statement. From the statement, I got the result set. So what is the last one I opened? Simple example. First, I will open the gate. I will enter here. I will open this door. When I want to close the doors, directly I will close that, or first I will close this. First, I need to close this. So according to that, which one I need to close first? Result set. Then which one I need to close? Statement. Then which one I need to close? Connection. That question we asked today. Right? Good. Perfect. Now, so now let us run this program, run as a Java application. Are we able to get the data? Yes. Now, in our project, there are 1,000 methods available to communicate with the database. So in 1,000 methods, am I going to write the logic to get the connection, or I will get the connection from connection factory? I will get the connection from the connection factory. What is the advantage? Only one time we are writing the logic and we are reusing that logic at multiple times. This is called code reusability. This is called code reusability. This is inheritance or composition. We are creating the object. It is a composition. Inheritance means extending the properties. Composition means creating the object and calling the method. Can I say I am doing reusability? Can I say that I'm using reusability here? Yes, we are achieving reusability. I have written the logic to create the connection pool in one class. From that connection pool, I am getting the connection in the another class. So this is the best practice. So when we are developing project in the real time, we have to follow these practices. So today we have seen two best practices. Not two, three. Hard coding the data in the Java program, we removed and we added that to the properties file. That is one best practice. Second one, are we creating physical connection or we are creating logical connection? We are getting the logical connection. Connection pool we are creating for every method. Connection pool will be created only one time. Only one time. How we are creating connection pool only one time? By using static block. What is the purpose of static block? Static block will execute only one time when the class is loaded into JVM. Are you clear? Perfect. So can we explain all these things in the initial class of JDBC? At that time, you cannot understand. Right. Yes, it's good to close. Even if you don't close, pool manager will close it. Right, guys, see here. I have taken a class called connection factory. What is the responsibility of the connection factory? What is the responsibility of connection factory? It is used to create the connection pool. That class is responsible to create the connection pool. Connection pool creation logic I have written in the static block. Here I am loading the data from the properties file. From the properties file, I am leading database properties. From that, I am creating connection pool. That data source object I am getting. Data source object I have declared outside of the block. Why I declared that outside of the block? Because I want to use that in the another method. If you create that variable within the try block or within the static block, that will become local variable. If it is local variable, we cannot access outside. That's why I declared a variable outside. I initialized that variable inside the block. Okay. Here I have written a method called getDB connection method. What is the purpose of getDB connection? It will get the connection from the connection pool, will give it to us. Whoever want connection in our project, they need to get the connection from connection factory. Okay. Connection factory.get connection. It will give you connection object. Once you get the connection, the remaining story already we know. Either you can create statement object, you can create prepared statement object, you can create callable statement, anything. You can do that. Okay. It's better to close the resources which we open. Best practice. So now gate 1, gate 2, gate 3. 3 gates I open. When I am closing, will I close first gate or third gate? Third gate, second gate, first gate. So similarly, I opened the result set at the last. Okay, result set object is closed. I opened statement, statement will be closed. I opened connection, I closed that connection. Even if I don't close it, pool manager is going to close that because it is not a physical connection, it is a logical connection. Are you clear, guys? Now, next point. Next point. We need to create. You have done with that program, right? Properties file. Done with the properties file program, na? Reading the properties file. Yeah, right. Next point. Working with the connection factory. Working with the connection factory. Yes, take this. Completed? Yes. Next point. Connection pool should be created only one time. Connection pool should be created only one time when the project starts. Connection pool should be created only one time when the project starts. And we need to reuse connections from pool. We need to reuse connections from pool for our DB operations. Connection pool should be created only one time when the project starts, and we need to reuse the connections from pool for our DB operations. For our DB operations. Okay. Now, connection factory class to create connection pool. Taking the complete code is not possible. I will give you the skeleton. Okay. Public class connection factory, public class connection factory, private static data source, ds is equal to null value. Then I will go for static block, load properties file data, load db.properties, create connection pool, create connection pool, then that is ds is equal to new Hikari data source, of Hikari config. Okay. Then after we will write a method called public static connection, that is get connection. Return ds dot get connection. That's it. This is the logic we need to write in the connection factory class. Static variable, static block, static method. It is an interface. SQL. Are you good with connection factory? Yeah. Now Java class to get the connection from the connection factory. You can take this now. Just to take this program. Java program to get logical connection from connection factory. Java program to get logical connection from connection factory. Java program to get logical connection from connection factory. Okay, fine guys, good. Today night, I will send the key for the today's exam questions and answers. Both I will send in the group by today. We'll continue in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow evening, we have class at 4 o'clock. Same regular time only. Any missing topic is there in JDBC, I will check that and we will discuss that topic. Sorry? DAO area, fine. I mean, that is not a topic. That is MVC architecture that we will discuss in the servlet after servlets. Correct. Business layer we need to write in the servlets. After that we can separate that to MVC. Okay. Any other missing topic? I think there is a concept called row set, save point topics are there. I will discuss those in tomorrow's session. Fine guys, please practice and don't miss the live classes. From today, recorded videos will be uploaded only on Sunday for our batch. People are not coming to online classes and offline classes. So I'm going to segregate online students and offline students. For offline students, I will remove the Zoom link in the website. They have to come to the class. Right? Okay, don't miss the classes from tomorrow. So tomorrow, pending topics of JDBC will be discussed. Then after servlets, if you want 1 or 2 days gap, I will give you. Practice all the concepts of JDBC. Then we can start with the servlets concept. And attend the web development classes also. Daily 2 o'clock, web development classes are there. Fine, good. I will do that now only. Yeah. After going home, I am forgetting this. Okay. Fine, guys. You can leave. We'll meet in the tomorrow evening 4 o'clock session. Please practice today's examples. They are very important. Project, huh?